Okay. You look at me. Look at me. All right. Look at me. I'm rubbing my hands. You know, I can't remember the last time I was like rubbing my hands in anticipation of a webinar topic like this one. Bring it on, Goliath. Bring it on. How to successfully take on a market leader. Okay, come on. Tell me. Tell me you don't wake up every day and say, how am I going to get more market share? How am I going to beat that competitor? How am I going to take down the number one person in this space? The more share of market I get, the more successful I will be. The more the company will be valued at, the more funding I can attract, the more innovation I can do. The bigger the company, the bigger the awards, the bigger the market share, the more funding, the better the people, the more funding, the better the people, acquisition, IPO, I'm rich. It's the dream. But we all start out somewhere. We all start out with that vision, that hope, a really cool piece of innovation. And no matter what happens, there's an established leader, right? There's an established leader always. I mean, unless you're doing something completely brand spanking new, in which case you don't need that visibility. You don't need to go after anybody. What you're doing in that case is you're educating the market on why your product should matter or exist or be relevant at all. And that's like single-digit percentage points of every new company that starts up today. Last I checked, I think I saw there were over 7,000 different pieces of technology in the MarTech stack. Now, I could be off by 1,000 here or there, but you get the idea. So let's just say 7,000. If a new company starts today, they're not going to be number one. They're going to be number 7,001. That's as close. That's the only one that's going to be in their ranking. So how do they compete against a market leader? How do they take them on? I'll make it simple for you. You come out with a new cola. How do you take down Coke? How do you take down Pepsi? How do you get into the conversation? When I started here at VanillaSoft, honest to God conversation I had with our CEO, I said, here's my commitment to you. I commit that I will not make us number one or number two in any time frame likely going to happen. Honestly. But I commit to you that I will get us in the conversation. So, for example, if today the leaders are, in most industries have one, typically two established leaders, Coke and Pepsi was a good example, IBM and Microsoft and Apple, you get the idea. If the conversation when I joined was, who are you looking at for a sales engagement platform, or A and B, my commitment was within a short period of time, and it would be, we're looking at A, B, and C. And once I get to C, then I can consider becoming A or B. But I got to get to C first. But how do I do that? How do I take on Goliath? Now think about that too, right? Goliath, because they're the number one, they benefit from the visibility, the mind share, the perception of leadership. They get the funding. They've got everything you don't have. How do you compete against that? My two biggest competitors, I have less than 1% funding of what they've got. Less than, not even one, less than one. So how do I compete? How do I take on Goliath? There's only a handful of you on this webinar that are the Goliaths. Everybody else here is either a contender or a pretender. And you want to go from pretender to contender so that you can go for leader. So imagine this topic. This is why you're here. I hope you want to learn. Because I recently made the decision to move our investment here at VanillaSoft from ZoomInfo to Sales Intel. And part of the reason I made that move was because of what I saw them doing. Full disclosure, I got a better deal with them as well. Price always matters. But I loved what they were doing. They displaced ZoomInfo here. And I want to be clear on this up front. That is not a disparagement of ZoomInfo. It was rather a case study on how this vendor, who I did not consider 1 year ago, over the course of that 1 year, was able to convince and compel me to displace the leader. And all those touch points, when this deal was done, I reached out to the CEO. You're going to meet him shortly. And I said, there is so much that my audience can learn from you. Would you please come on and be forthright and candid and transparent and vulnerable? And will you share your story so you can help others? And he was like, yeah, sign me up. Let's do it. So here we are. So today we're talking about Bring It On, Goliath, how to successfully take on a market leader. Ground rules, very straightforward. As you can see here, you have a little chat window on your right-hand side. You can sign in if there's no account necessary. If you've already signed in, you're not seeing anything, just hit refresh on your browser. And if you do that, you can chat to your heart's content. So give us a shout out. What part of the world are you coming from? Who's your Goliath that you want to take on? What's your question you're going to have for us today? Go there. Candidly, often the best conversation takes place not here between me and my guests, but there. So go there. You're in listen only mode in case you don't know the drill already, but I think you do. So you can talk and have lots of noise going on in the background and you're cool. That's all good. And we're going to send a copy of this recording within 24 hours of it being done. So whatever email address you use to sign up, that's where you're going to receive this copy. First thing you should do is send it to everybody else on your management team and get them thinking. Next thing you should be doing is going to all your contractors you work with and say, what can we learn from this? Let's come together as a team. And then you need to share it with all your colleagues, whether you're in Revenue Collective, Rev Genius, Peak Community, you're going to a Patreon club. It doesn't really matter. LinkedIn, go there and share this content and give us your thoughts. Those are the ground rules. Next up, I told you I was going to introduce you to my wonderful, esteemed CEO of Sales Intel. Well, here he is, folks. Manoj Ramnani. He is phenomenal. Check this out. If you're listening to this on demand, there's his email address, manoj.ramnani. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm sorry, Manoj. At salesintel.io. Send him any question you have. And by the way, folks, follow him on LinkedIn. Manoj, welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks for being here. How you doing, man?
Great. Thanks, Daryl. I really appreciate you inviting me. I'm looking forward to this exciting webinar with you.
It's going to be a blast. All right, so what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk about some key things. We're going to talk about your go-to-market strategy. We're going to talk about how you can have an impact on the sales process with some of these tactics. Talk about educating the prospects, why you versus somebody else. Manoj had to do that to me to get me to become a client. How you can directly target accounts, and those accounts, they could be your target accounts or they could be the leader's accounts. What does that mean? Because there's going to be pushback when you do that. One of the things you got to realize when you target accounts is that the leader has a loyal following and they're going to not all embrace your message. So how do you tackle that? What's the right verbiage? And that's actually one of the main reasons I asked Manoj to join us today was how they did that. I'm just going to ask them point blank. How did Goliath, in this case ZoomInfo, respond with these tactics and these approaches? And how have you grown as a company? What have you seen as the results? We're going to ask Manoj directly. And then for anybody who's in this situation where you're trying to take on Goliath, we're going to ask Manoj for what his best advice is. So that's it. That's Bring It On, Goliath. Let's get right into it. We're going to take him down. Consider me David, I guess, if you will. But the first question I have is, can you successfully take on a market leader? Is this even achievable, or is this an exercise in futility? So I wanted to stop here for a second, and I want to share a few things. So what I did, I went analog, I went old school, and I just went to my inbox. I started saving his emails. I'm pretty relentless. I delete. I read it. Yeah, you're there. I got the impression. I hear the message, delete. Inbox 0, baby. But his were so good, I started saving them. Because I knew this day was going to come. So I'm going to go through a couple here. I just want to share them with you, okay? So here's an email from Manoj. Now, clearly his marketing people did it, but I'm sure he wrote it. And the subject line was very simple. The subject line was Sales Intel versus ZoomInfo. Got my attention. I'm a ZoomInfo client. Hi, Daryl. It's so disappointing when I hear from customers that they just didn't know. They just didn't know that they had an alternative when they were choosing a data provider. Way too many have had to put up with exorbitant prices, poor data quality, and abysmal customer support. Shot across the bow. Look at that. I love it. I could go on, but that was the first email. All right, that was one of many from Manoj. Another one. Next subject line. It's from Manoj again. Paying too much for ZoomInfo? It's time to look beyond the brand name. He's calling me out. Did you make a brand decision, Daryl? It's time to look beyond the brand name. Hi, Daryl. Way too often, incumbent companies get complacent. He just called ZoomInfo complacent because they and their customers mistakenly believe that there are no viable alternatives. The inevitable result is that the product quality degrades and the customer pays the price. It is important to remember that just because a company has the brand recognition, that does not always translate into a better solution and customer experience. Look what he's planting, those seeds of doubt, fear, uncertainty, right? Better solution, customer experience. That's why I try so hard to educate people to the options they have in the data space. Well, educate me, baby. All right, so then I got some marketing materials here, the classic, you get the big banners and all that wonderful stuff. So here we go. ZoomInfo versus Sales Intel, and it's just a wonderful, whole, complete breakdown of what you need to know. Click to a call to action, right? Looking for the best ZoomInfo alternative? I love this declarative he makes. You probably can't see it, but on here, it actually says, Sales Intel has emerged as the best alternative for customers who want a product like ZoomInfo, but without any of its shortcomings. Okay, so imagine if you're Seamless.io, Lead IQ, Lead 411, Hunter.io, Clearbit, Kickfire. The list goes on. I mean, they're all variations, but he's self-professing. Sales Intel has emerged as the best alternative for customers who want a product like ZoomInfo, but without any of its shortcomings. More shots across the bow. Oh my goodness. Next one. 5 reasons why ZoomInfo customers switch to Sales Intel. We have witnessed over the last few months a constant influx of ZoomInfo customers who are now happy clients of Sales Intel. ZoomInfo, by all accounts, is the leading platform, so he acknowledges they're the leader in the B2B data intelligence space, but that isn't necessarily because it has a superior product. Over the years, ZoomInfo has acquired or merged with most of its competitors, leaving customers with little choice for viable alternatives. I mean, this Sales Intel is dropping some psychology here, something fierce. I love it. That is until Sales Intel stepped in to fill that void. All right. Get the white paper, the data purchasing guide every business needs, your 11-step guide for a comprehensive data purchasing strategy. Well, you've already got my attention, and you probably know I'm a client, and you probably know my renewal's coming up. So you've got my attention. What do you got there? Generate free leads from LinkedIn. Okay, tell me more. You got my attention. Instantly access prospect contact data anywhere. Is your sales team spending hours each week digging through company directories to find contact information? Your team should be selling. That's just a few of them, folks. I ran out of time. I could go all day. As you hear that, Manoj, what's your reaction? Has anybody done this to you for played it back to you this way?
First of all, Daryl, thank you so much for being an amazing customer, coming over to Sales Intel, believing in us. And I'm impressed, buddy. I'm impressed that you went through all the emails and the journey that we take our prospect through. So great job there. So look, one of the biggest challenge for us as a company or any Davids out there in the audience is to get in the conversations, right? And how do you get into conversation? Our strategy going in was to have the best product. That was our ground zero rule. Let's have the best product. But even if you have the best product in the world, if the prospect, if the customer doesn't know about you, what good is it? You can only reach yourself so many people. So our strategy was go right up against the Goliath in the industry, because we knew that we have a great product. We just need to get the attention. And we, long time ago, I learned that the path from point A to point B is a straight line. Let's just not beat around the bush. We just wanted to go right up against ZoomInfo, the Goliath, and say, look, we are better than them. That way, we didn't have to educate the market as to what the sales intel does, right? Well, there's 7,000 companies, as you mentioned, in the sales tech martech space. I didn't want to take on the responsibility of educating the market about sales intel. The market is already educated. Right? The market consolidation started happening 2 years ago. Right? So we just rode on that wave and told the market how better, how we are better, how our solution is better than the Zoom info that you're using today.
You and I had a conversation a while ago. It was a revealing conversation for me. And, my former role as CMO, I can never turn off the marketer in me. And I said, who comes up with this content? And you shared, tell me if I'm wrong, that you kind of go home on the weekends and you kind of come up with the next little message and you give it over to your marketing team to do what marketing does. Is that how much of this has happened? Is that right?
Yeah, look, we have an amazing marketing team. We have a 7-person marketing team, has 3 content writers and demand generation people. They're the world class. So the credit all goes to them. But my favorite time is over the weekend, take my pen, scribble around my social posts for the weeks. And also the message, to say what message is going to resonate with our prospects, right? I've been in the industry for a decade. So I have the benefit of knowing like what is it that the prospects are willing to listen, right? What is it that's going to interest them? So I come up with the theme, but then, as I said, I have an amazing marketing team. They take over that theme and build it to polished material that you just outlined in a couple of those emails, white papers, and the case studies.
You do realize right now there's a ton of people listening to this webinar and they're going, I wish my CEO was like Manoj. I wish my CEO understood the power of marketing to drive market share, the power of the message. I wish my CEO had more courage to actually be so aggressive, a little more, in your face, if you will. I wish. So on a personal level, do you ever get pushback from other CEOs saying, dude, that's not cool. That's not kosher what you're doing. Like, well, that's, there's an etiquette here and you're breaking the rules.
I don't know. Look, I have a lot of respect for Zoom Info, as well as all the companies that made up to be Zoom Info, right? In some way, shape, or form, we played an important role in their journey. My rule is, as long as we are not breaking the rule and disparaging them, we are just saying, we are just presenting the facts and bringing those facts in front of the prospects and let the prospects make a decision. Again, no email did I say Zoom Info is a bad company. Look, anybody who builds up a company that is worth what Zoom Info is worth, I have a lot of respect for that person, right? So a lot of respect for the management team, for the investors to make what they've made. Here, our goal is not to disparage Zoom Info. Our goal is to just be in the conversation and show the prospect that they have an option, right? And they have a better option. We did the same thing to you, and we were successful in making you move from Zoom Info to Sales Intel, right? Part of it was the price, but I bet the big part of this was the quality of product and the quality of the sales experience that we delivered to you and your team.
So, true story, if you're wondering, folks, I mean, everything Manoj is saying is 100% correct, but there's one thing he's leaving out. And this is not a knock against Zoom Info. In fact, what I'm going to share here is something I witnessed Manoj do that impacted how I now practice at VanillaSoft. So when the process started, demos and discussions and proposals, Manoj, CEO of the company, reached out to little old me. He's got a massive pipeline, lots of activity going on, and just never put himself in a way that would undermine the sales rep. Simply said, I hear we're talking. That's great. If you have any questions, let me know. I heard you had a great meeting. If you have any questions, let me know. All right. I heard we have a proposal out. That's great. Hope to get this done. Really excited about you coming on board. I hear you're on board. You're signed. Congratulations. We're so excited to have you join the family. That's all he did. But you know what? I never got that from Zoom Info. And candidly, VanillaSoft never did that either. I never did that. A CRO, I never did that. And I'm like, what, am I stupid? Because we should do that. They need to know. You know what excited me as a client was that I have a relationship now with Manoj. We're connected on LinkedIn. He's messaged me a couple times. I messaged back. He responded. If I have heartache and problems, I can just go to Manoj. I can escalate to the CEO. No, I don't. Manoj is going to go, no, I'm going to get all these calls. Please don't do that. But you get the idea. In a bad situation, I could escalate. That gave me much confidence that if I was going to take a quote unquote risk because they weren't Zoom Info, that if things started to go south, I had a direct connection to the top that I can mitigate that risk. So that was huge. Nothing to do with messaging, everything to do with sales and relationships. So that's cool. I want to go on this slide. This first slide is go-to-market strategy. So I want to ask you a question here, Manoj. When you sat back and you said, this is what we're going to go do. I'm going to go after them, exactly as what you described. A, what prompts you to do that? Is that something you've done before? B, what was the reaction of your colleagues? C, were you scared? Were you nervous? Did you expect they would come down and stamp you out? Or like what? Because I don't see a lot of people doing this. I see them avoiding it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I've been in the industry for over a decade here. We started off this journey prior to Sales Intel, where we were the wholesaler of data, and we saw the market consolidation and honestly the huge opportunity right in front of us. So started Sales Intel as a new brand, 2018, and one of our key tenet of go-to-market strategy was let's have the best product that's out there, right? So we invested a ton of resources and investment into making the best product that we could get out there. We knew the data world is huge. We knew that we can't we can't service everybody. So the first and foremost, we decided that, let's pick the decision makers that are most in demand. And we human verified everything. Look, I have machine learning background. We spent 8 years building AI algorithms and all. We knew that in order for us to service our customers, we needed to give them the highest quality data that's out there. So first premise was to get the best product out there. Second was, how do we get in the conversations? How do we tell our prospect this story? And that's where we invested very heavily in marketing. Jason Hubbard, who's my partner, currently he leads our partnerships and alliances. He was my first. He started off as our agency. He used to run Your Growth Expert as an agency. We ended up acquiring his agency within Sales Intel to be the marketing force, and that's what gave us the force that we needed. Because otherwise, you're hiring a content person, a video person, an email operations person. With that acquisition, we received almost think of a CMO organization in a box, right? And after that, we went through all the channels. We went through email. We had SDR function that we built over a period of time with the phone calls. We have very engaged on social media. I personally, come pretty much every day with the message. And then the webinars, right? So those were some of the channels through which we went out to market. And our product backed us up. All we needed was attention from the prospect to say, okay, you know what? I'm willing to give you a chance, and I'm willing to do a comparison between what I have with Zoom Info today and what I'm going to get with Sales Intel. And to your previous point, as to you got a couple of touches from me. We are bootstrapping this company. We are very, very small. When you're a small company, you're going up against a $20 billion market cap company. Every prospect in your position is scared of, I have never heard of Sales Intel's name. If I sign with them, am I going to get fired if it doesn't work, right? So at that time, the best thing I thought that I could do was give that level of confidence to my prospect. And I started becoming very, very active. Daryl, not only you're obviously the B2B. In the B2B world, you're one of the icon, very well-respected executive, go-to-market executive. But I do it with many, many prospects that we touch, because that goes a long way when they see that I'm putting my name out there. I'm giving them my commitment that we are going to deliver. the best data, the best platform, and the best customer support to you.
Okay. So here's the thing. I love everything you said, but I'll be contentious for a second. Everything you just said is what every other person does. They get the webinars, they get the ebooks, they get the emails, they get the design, they get the videos, and away they go. But you were a little more, you were a lot more overt. Like, you were very intentional. So let's talk about that. I know our next slide was actually, I want to hit this up, which is all about, how did you increase your market awareness? Because you can do all of that and still get very little traction. So, reaction from me. When I was reading your stuff, I actually shared it with my team because we have done campaigns against the install base of SalesLoft and Outreach and others to say, hey, we're an alternative, right? Check us out. And for many of those, we get so much grief from the recipients. It was not pretty. You suck. You're not this. Our product's way better. Why would I ever switch? It was bad. It was vitriolic. That's my word of the day. And so we pulled back. We pulled back, but you didn't. So I would ask you three things. How did you intentionally decide to be so pointed in your messaging, as opposed to talking about your product? You named ZoomInfo. You went after some of their acknowledged, perhaps we call it shortcomings. Maybe you go to G2 or Trust Radius and you see some of their issues of feedback, customer support, etc. You went after those issues. So how did you decide to do that? It's number one. Number two, on the awareness side, did you have the money to do this? Because you said you're bootstrapped, but I've heard you say you acquired this little agency and you went hard after them. That costs money. So how did you justify the money? That's number two. And number three, the little Machiavellian in me says, by you going directly after their install base, you directly multiply your branding, because you're in the face of every single one of their customers, as opposed to just being out there on pay-per-click and opt-in lists, and maybe they open it and maybe they don't. Now you're going hard after them, and they're going to open it because you're almost questioning their decision-making process, right? What was so cool about the content, I'm going over there because I just put all the emails over there, was when I never felt threatened when I read that. That was the trick of your writing. I never felt like you were calling me a moron for making an investment in ZoomInfo. I just felt like you were letting me know that I had options, and then you were very subtly pointing out maybe some of the frustrations that I was experiencing firsthand without actually calling them out on it. So, three things. You were very intentional with your messaging. You needed money for branding, and two, you actually went after their base. Is that intentional to grow your brand faster?
Yeah, great question. So let me give you a little bit of a market dynamics, if I may. We play in a very weird market where you have in last 2 years, investors pour a lot of money to consolidate 4 or 5 companies, Discover, RainKing, ZoomInfo, DataNice, all into this one giant company, which is now branded as ZoomInfo, right? And then there's a long tail of 60 to 70 to 80 companies that are just, selling data, right? This business is weird because starting a data company is not that difficult. You have people scraping LinkedIn, get 10,000 records, and they are in the data business, right? You have a publisher who has a good list, they are in the data business. I tell everybody, back in my day, my first company was a services business. Anybody who gets off on the wrong side of the bed, they'll say, you know what, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to start a services company. By them being a consultant, now they have a company. Same thing is true for data business. So for us to get above the noise level with all the brands that you said, all great company in their own specific areas, whether it's a seamless, great solution for the low end of the market. If you just need the volume of data, that's great. If you want to scrape LinkedIn, LeadIQ is a great company. All those are great companies. ZoomInfo, another great company. We wanted to make sure that we rise above this noise and be compared against ZoomInfo. And once we knew that once prospects compare us against ZoomInfo, apples to apple comparison, our data is going to shine, our product is going to shine, right? And that's why we had no other choice, given the fact that I'm bootstrapping this company. I didn't have all the budget for pay-per-click. I didn't have the budget to buy the booth pre-COVID, for $500,000. So we just wanted to go right up against ZoomInfo, the established brand, so that there's no need for us to educate the customer. Second is, I didn't have that many dollars. Like, how did I do that? You know what? Fortunately, we drink our own champagne, right? We have the great data for the 14 million companies. We have now coming to 80 million decision makers, right? We have 100% email coverage. We have their phone numbers, right? We used and then we have technographic data. We partnered with the best of breed solutions like HG. They are the gold standard when it comes to technographic. We partnered with Bambora for intent, right? We drank our own champagne, if I may, to reach out to those prospects in a very cost-efficient way. In terms of acquisition, Jason is a great partner. He saw the huge potential in what we are building here at Sales Intel and wanted to be part of the journey. And it has been an amazing journey together as we build Sales Intel. And your third question was
what
about
was reach? It was money. It was how did you make that decision to be so intentional and specific and almost, I don't want to say accusatorial, but you were picking at scabs. You were,
Daryl, market is tired of that bullshit. I'm sorry, but market.
Oh, that's what I want to hear.
Market is tired of bad data, overpaying for data, auto renewals. The list goes on and on and on. They build a great company, but market is truly looking for an alternate. And we believe that we have the best product, the best data, and more importantly, you experience our sales experience, and your team is going to experience our customer success. We are there every step of the way with our partners, with our customers.
All right, so let's review what we just heard here, folks. This is kind of interesting, right? This is almost not what I expected to hear. What you've just heard Manoj say is fundamentally, he did all this without spending a boatload of money. He was very intentional. He's very strategic. He recognized, okay, big thing here, and a lot of marketers suck at this despite you claiming that you don't, and sales reps too. He knew his ideal customer profile and the pains and challenges and frustrations they were experiencing. He's mentioned it, customer support. He's mentioned the auto renewals, and these are hot buttons for me. I like when I'm going through my contract, going, what do you mean? There's a 60-day advance notice, and if I don't give it to you, it just auto renews. That left a bad taste in my mouth. All right, because I don't like that. That's not the spirit of a partnership, and ZoomInfo is not the only vendor who does this by any stretch of the imagination. So he's aware of this. Do you know your competition? Do you know the leader that way? Manoj used a David budget to tackle Goliath. But he knew his customer really, really well. So that's the things you have to look at. How well do you know it? How ballsy are you to go after it? And he didn't do it aggressively in the sense of, you pick ZoomInfo, you're stupid. He just picked at the scab like a drip of water. Drip, drip, drip. And it resonated with his customer. So there we go. So you mentioned sales process. I wanted to talk about the impact on the sales process. How did you take that experience and move it over to the sales team? And with that approach from your marketing side, what was it like for your sales reps? Were they having to deal with prospects who were confrontational? How dare you question my judgment on ZoomInfo? I've got your marketing. It's full of crap. I love the product. I don't have a problem with customer support. Talk to me. How did this strategy roll into influence, shape your sales approach?
Yeah. So Daryl, we saw quite the opposite. We saw our prospect who received those emails from us or our STR outreach from us, just like you, they welcome our sales folks, right? That coupled with a very well-crafted sales experience that we deliver for our prospect as they're going through the journey, has helped us win those customers. The customers, when we send a message about everything, whether it's an auto renewal or huge price increments or charging you for something that you did not know you're going to get charged when you have more data in your CRM and marketing, and they're enriching it. So the list of complaints goes on and on. And by the way, the data quality is going down, right? When the customers are already experiencing all those challenges and they see the emails from us, the messaging from us, they actually welcome our sales folks to 30 minutes of demo. And then during those 30 minutes, our sales team consistently has delivered the best sales experience where we are not pushy. We are not going to push this thing down. We are just going to educate you to say, okay, you're using this company, ZoomInfo. It's a great company. Just give it a shot and try Sales Intel. And during the first 10, 15 minutes as they go through the platform, we have a very well designed, very easy to use system. When they do, those roulette, say, okay, pick up my contact or pick up this company. And when they see the quality of data in our platform and all the integrations that we provide them, they go from, hey, I had never thought that there is an alternate to ZoomInfo. I'm interested. And that's when the next phase of our sales start. We want to give it a try, right?
So then I want to go to the next slide because this is very personal for me. It's all about educating prospects. And the biggest challenge I had and continue to have when I use this approach is that I get on the phone with the prospect. So in my case, maybe they're a SalesLoft or Outreach client. In your case, maybe they're a ZoomInfo client, clearly. And they look at the user interface and they look at the navigation of how you use the tool to get what you want to get. And they're so conditioned by the incumbent, by the leader, that they don't actually understand your approach. They think your approach is counterintuitive. They think it's stupid. I love this one. SalesLoft, Outreach, whatever. It's so much prettier. Really? And I know it's a real objection, but that's your objection? Like you're not even looking at the functionality. And by the way, is it prettier after 8 hours of using it? Because studies will tell you that eye strain, headaches, loss of productivity, blah, blah, blah. Everything you see here is a massive choice that we made. Like, these are the conversations we have to, it's like, do we get a chance to deprogram them so we can explain why we're better or different and why what they were doing was a bad approach? So in other words, like you, I got their attention. I picked at the scab. We're having the conversation, but they come in with blinders on and only know one way of doing things. Is that just me, man? Or do you have that problem too?
Yeah, we have those customers, and many a times in our world, those are integrations, right? Our business is data, right? Our business is providing the sales intelligence to the revenue teams, right? So the 80% of why we win deals or we lose deals is because of the information that we have that they're looking for. The remaining 20% is features. Look, once again, we are a very small company. It's a third year of being in the business. We don't have those $1 billion investments yet. So we can't possibly build every feature that our competitor has. And even if we have money, I don't know if I want to really build every function and feature in there. What we wanted to do with the product was focus on what really matters, right? So the three things that we honed into. Number one, in that sequence, is the information. Our data has to rock. Our data has to be great. Number two, the system has to be very easy to use, right? Any salesperson should come in and within 5 minutes of training, 10 minutes of training, they should be up and running in prospecting. And number three, we wanted to deliver this information in the platforms that our clients are already used to, which is Salesforce, HubSpot, Marketo, Outreach, SalesLoft, VanillaSoft. These are the platforms that our clients spend time, and we want to make sure that they take our information with them in those platforms.
Did you at all? I have to be careful because I know you're not going to answer this question. I wouldn't answer it either. So I'll phrase it carefully. Did you look at the market as a whole and how user interfaces were laid out from vendor to vendor to vendor? And did you kind of say, okay, intentionally, This is how people are conditioned. Therefore, we'll make ours similar. Therefore, the transition is easy. That's one way of doing it. Let's start with that. Did you design your product? I hear what you're saying, to make it easy and intuitive. I got you. But did you intentionally go after a design consideration so that it would be an easy transition if I was a ZoomInfo customer to start using your product?
No. Honestly, our design principles were let's make the top 5 things that our prospects come to the platform the easiest, right? Easiest to access. And then, the clients who have moved from ZoomInfo to Sales Intel platform, they actually appreciate it. They appreciate not seeing all the tabs and options that they don't even use. It's like a car, right? You have so many options. What do you really use? How many times do you usually use all those options? So we kept our user interface very simple. We didn't go after, okay, but just because they are using Discover or ZoomInfo, let's just make it parallel so the transition is easier. We actually didn't take that approach.
All right. So then I got to ask, because I know what I heard from ZoomInfo when your name came up during the process. I know what I heard from ZoomInfo when I informed them of our decision. I'm not going to share that here. That would be inappropriate. I want to ask you, though, how has Goliath, in your case, ZoomInfo, how has Goliath responded? Have they targeted you? Have they ignored you? Have they changed their sales approach when competing against you? Has their messaging changed? Like what? How have they sent you letters to cease and desist? I mean, I don't know. And I know you can't tell me everything. I respect that, but I'd love to hear what you can share.
Yeah, it's all of the above. What's that saying? I'm forgetting. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they kind of ridicule you, and they fight, and then you win. So we are somewhere in that journey. The sales. Again, ZoomInfo is a great company. We are on the recording, so for disclosures. And second thing, before you answer your question, this is a huge market, right? Sales intelligence is a $24 billion market. ZoomInfo market cap, maybe whatever, given the frothy valuations, but they have $400 million of revenue, right? So there's a huge room for more than a couple companies to coexist. So I think we are all going to do very well. We are very fortunate to be in this market. But to answer your question, look, it's not a secret that the founders of what is ZoomInfo today are aggressive lawyers, right? The company started by lawyers. So I'll be lying to you if I say that I didn't receive a letter. But look, we are not breaking any rules. We are barely providing the best solution out to the market. So have they changed the tactics? We hear things from our prospect that they go in and say, Sales Intel only has 5 million contacts. That is not 5 million contacts. Those are the ones that are human verified, right? What we have is 75, 80, and as we release international from the volume point of view, we are going to go even higher than the volume that they have, right? But they take some information, distort the fact, and this is a competitive world, and I'm not surprised that they're doing it. And in the sales process, they are coming down with the pricing. When they see Sales Intel, all of a sudden the price comes down 60%. So my ask from all those prospects are, were you paying just way too much money all this while? Or they're just too scared of Sales Intel?
And I will share, I don't think this is out of school, that when I informed them of our decision, and they knew we were competing. They knew we were competing. And yes, I got a better price from, as I've said already, but the price was only one consideration, just one. After I shared the news of our choice, they came back and said, well, wait, we can still, we can sharpen our pencils further. And, that's interesting because, the CRO in me says, I love that the sales guys are still chasing the business. That's what I want my sales team to do. So I applaud that. The client in me says, wait a minute, you were willing to take more money from me than you had to? and you want to be my partner? I'm not sure how but I am sure how I feel about that. So I don't have an answer, folks. But what I do know is that ZoomInfo is aware of Sales Intel because of the tactics they've done. Trust me, it was a conversation. We didn't just do ZoomInfo and Sales Intel. We did a massive comparison. Stupid comparison, candidly. Way too many. But it was Sales Intel that ZoomInfo certainly focused in on. So they've got their attention. I love all of this. This is a classic case of David and Goliath. That's how we began it. And by no means has David slayed the giant yet. And exactly as Manoj says, because we see the same thing here at VanillaSoft, the market is a massive, massive, massive market. As much as the leaders want it all, there's plenty of market to go around and everybody will do well. If you don't need, you want proof of that, you have Salesforce and Pipedrive and Dynamics. You have HubSpot and Marketo and Pardot. You've got Outreach and SalesLoft and VanillaSoft. All right. We've all got lots of market. All you want is a little bit. So the question is, if the market's this big and the leader wants to own it all, how do you pry their hands away and take a piece of that pie? How do you make sure you're not number 7,001 on that tech stack? How do you best position yourself for success? I love that Manoj says they drank their own champagne. I would call it I ate my own dog food, but I'm kind of low class and he's Mr. High class. So there we go. It's pretty cool. I'm so thrilled. And I'll be candid. I want to shoot straight here. Since we've used the products, there's areas where we say ZoomInfo, because we're all in on Sales Intel. We're actively using it now. We've rolled it all out. ZoomInfo is better over here. And I'm sure Manoj knows that and their engineers are working on it. And we know this. And then there's other areas where we go, oh, Sales Intel is actually better over here. It's never a black and white. You don't need to beat Goliath by being better than him. That was the whole wisdom behind that parable, was that Goliath was actually less equipped, smaller, diminutive. He's got, just a slingshot. That's all he's got. That's it. And yet, with the right strategy and the right approach to the market, you can compete with Goliath. You don't have to settle for being a contender. You can be a leader. That's a big thing. Manoj, I'm going to circle back with you. We're going to give you kind of the final word here. For all those listening to us today, keen to hear what you have to say. If you had to say, this is one piece of advice for those who are a little earlier in the David versus Goliath journey, if I could look back and say, this is what I would say you really need to focus on, do, or watch out for, or invest in, or whatever, what might that be?
I would say build a great product and have the courage. Have the courage. It can't be done. It has been done. History is right in front of us, right? There would not be an Apple against BlackBerry. There would not be a Tesla against Ford. There would be a Sales Intel against ZoomInfo. I would say, get the best product, get a great team. Without a good team, you can't win this. Building business is a team sport. Once you got those two, then just have the courage to go right up against the Goliath in your space and go win.
Have the courage. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? And we all say, oh, I got courage. Do you really? Do you have courage? Are you willing to be bold? Are you willing to take a risk? That's what courage is all about. All right. And Manoj, you're a great example of that. My friend, I want to thank you. I had, when I floated the idea with you, I said, I'm looking for you to be really, transparent and honest. Are you okay with that? I don't want to put you in a bad spot. And you said you were, and I think you've exceeded my expectations. So thank you so much. Folks, I'm going to bring kind of it all to a close today right now. Dana, let's bring up slide number 14 where we have Manoj's email address. There it is. Whether you're doing it now or you're watching this again or you're watching this on demand or you're a colleague of somebody in your organization who watched this live for the first time, there's Manoj's email address. You have a question for him, whether it be about their product at Sales Intel or about their strategy that's the man. This is an open invite to reach out to him. Don't not take advantage of that opportunity. Follow him on LinkedIn, my friends. He's worth it. He's a great guy. Manoj, thank you so much. You were fantastic.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Really appreciate it.
That wraps it up, folks. We're done for another session here. Today we talked about Bring It On, Goliath, how you can successfully take on a market leader. I was joined by Manoj, CEO, Sales Intel. I'm Daryl Prale, CRO, VanillaSoft, and you, my friends, you're off to have an amazing day. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.